95.9 WATD, the South Shore's Morning News. I'm Rob Hackala with the morning team. Beth Foster joins me remote. Got to bring her back in because it's time to talk to the doctor. Dr. John Hayes, who joins us every week at this time. For a better experience at the doctor's office, try Dr. John Hayes' new, highly personalized and affordable direct primary care practice. Find out more at drjohnhayesjr.com. Dr. John Hayes, good morning to you.
Rob, good morning. Good morning to you too, Beth.
Hey, doctor.
There she is.
Yeah,
I know.
That's right.
I mentioned to the doctor. The doctor told you to stay home today.
Thanks, doctor. I appreciate that cosign.
Yeah. Got to stay home.
Take good care of yourself, Beth.
Got to get that.
Thank you.
You don't want to play around with that leg. All right. So this week we're going to talk about 10 ways we can help prevent and manage diabetes. And this will probably be, as we talked about, a two-parter.
Yeah, definitely. Rob, there's so much material to talk about. But one of the things I want to start this discussion off with is prediabetes, or what's called metabolic syndrome. Prediabetes or metabolic syndrome is something that is now known to affect even children. It's estimated now that 30% of children have metabolic syndrome. Adults, not only in the United States but worldwide, have prediabetes or metabolic syndrome. So I want to spend a few minutes and talk about that because it's something a lot of people aren't aware of. Historically, when you went to the doctor and you had your laboratory markers done, say every year or so, if you did go every year, and they check what's called your hemoglobin A1C and your fasting glucose level, if they were a little bit elevated, oftentimes you're told, well, just clean up your diet a bit and we'll see you next year. Mm-hmm. The reality is, and we've learned this much more about this the last 10 years, is we need to be much, much more strict about that. Because the reality is that when we have prediabetes, which can be a slightly elevated hemoglobin A1C or borderline level, or slightly elevated fasting blood sugars, the reality is that we're actually damaging our body without even realizing it.
Oh.
And this is something I had the pleasure of learning from a neurologist almost 20 years ago who at that time was starting to see many, many more neuropathy patients. And what he said, and I know this is still controversial, but he said, look, when you have metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, your blood sugar levels may not be as high as they are in diabetes, but they're higher for longer periods of time. And what happens when our blood sugars are high, we have multiple negative changes. One of the most significant things, though, is that we have what's called glycosylation of proteins, which basically means that we have sugar or glucose molecules attached to protein molecules, creating damage. And the damage that occurs oftentimes is felt in pain. And this is something a lot of people don't realize. Because we see so many pain patients in the practice, and just in the last week I've had 2 or 3 patients come in who have had chronic pain, and their rheumatoid tests are negative, lupus tests are negative. I said, well, what's your hemoglobin A1C? I don't know. And another patient, do you know your hemoglobin A1C is 6.1? No, I had no idea. Mm-hmm. So it's a discussion that as a patient you need to be aware of and have the discussion with your doctor and be sure you're getting checked on a regular basis. Because prediabetes is, if left uncorrected, can really cause a lot of problem. The other thing to be aware of is just because you're pre-diabetic does not mean you're going to advance to diabetes, but you can still have a lot of health issues. Increased risk for musculoskeletal pain, increased risk for neuropathy, and a whole host of other issues, accelerated aging, and so on and so forth. So it's something to really pay attention to. Yeah, it's a huge, huge topic, which is why I want to spend the time and address this issue. And of course, any questions people have, they can reach out to us here and in the office too. But it's something you really want to be aware of for sure. But the good news is that so much of it is lifestyle related, and there's been some really good breakaways in managing this better. One is, we used to say, okay, if you want to manage your sugar better, obviously avoid, the sodas for sure. That's like just a never type thing.
Yeah.
And the other issue, of course, is excess candy, ice cream every night.
Oh, ice cream.
Oh, that's I know.
No,
but
I know.
The issue is you really have to tighten up carbohydrate control in our diets, but increase our physical activity. Mm. Now, the good news on the physical activity is that we used to say, okay, so walk for half an hour. Remember, they used to tell us walk for half hour after Thanksgiving dinner, and it'll help to, you'll feel better and so on.
You'll feel better.
Well, there are some newer studies that show that even if we just walk for a couple of minutes after eating, our blood sugar can drop dramatically, significantly. The reason for this is that our furnaces, if you will, in our human body are our thighs. Our thigh muscles are the largest muscles in the body. for most of us. And when you are walking on a regular basis, the increased efficiency of the muscles in the legs can help us burn fuel more efficiently. So that's really important to know. So activity around the time of meals goes a long way. The other thing that's really important, and this is something we've spoken about before, is increasing the amount of healthy fats in meals. When we increase healthy fats in our meals, we actually don't get as hungry. We don't get hungry as much, and we tend not to eat as many sugary foods because we feel satiated faster. In other words, we feel like we're getting full faster.
What kind of things would we eat?
So the healthy things for vegetables, salads, especially extra virgin olive oil, really key. Okay. And during the day, I'm a huge fan of having people, snack on nut butters like cashew butter, almond butter, that type of thing. With if you want to have we've talked about before, like a low carb bread, like a slice of Dave's bread or Ezekiel bread, or even better, some of the
Dr. Hayes, I've heard avocados are really good fat to include.
They are,
too.
yeah. So that's good, a good point, Beth. So in addition to olive oil and nut butters, avocado and coconut. Coconut is kind of neutral, but still healthier than a lot of the other fats that we have in our diet.
Oh. I love coconut.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff to be part of the diet.
It's interesting you talk about that because, I know that was certainly the thing that I've been warned about was being in the pre-diabetes mode, as you know, for a long time. And then I ended up going over the limit. And so I guess I was driving, with not having my oil changed. And, it wasn't really dangerous. The engine light wasn't on. But you're saying driving the car with something that needs to be addressed in the long run is going to still cause damage. So luckily, they told me I had to do a radical diet change.
Well, yeah, oftentimes you do. You just do. And but I think, Rob, like so many things now, awareness, just making people aware that this is a thing and make sure that you're getting checked. If you are pre-diabetic in my office, you're getting checked every 90 days. I'm not saying I'll see you in a year. Yeah, I think
I wasn't worrying about it. You're right. I said,
exactly.
Well, it's going to probably stay the same.
Exactly.
And then I'll just pre-diabetes. I'll see you later. But then, obviously, ended up my cup filled up too much, and then I started going over. And then there were issues. So they said,
I've got
no more milkshakes every day, and no more. I was getting those tuna subs with the steak fries, and it was just much. Oh, it was so good. But it was just looking at, as you said, the low carb bread. There's a lot of good options now. That's the thing is, there's choices.
There's many more options than there have been before. You have to be very selective about when you shop and what you shop for. And I think, just trying to avoid having the stuff that you shouldn't in the house goes a long way, too.
Yeah, definitely. And then, Rob, you look so great now.
That's right. You look awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no,
hard work pays off.
I noticed, in addition to the blood sugar going down, which is great, and then I'll tell everyone the story as I told it, because I think it's a good story, is that I was on that metformin for a while, and then they took me off because I was able to manage it with diet. And then the other part of it was ended up losing weight.
Exactly.
Well. So,
yep, makes a big difference.
So, and I'm sure your energy levels are great now, or better.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard from never getting enough sleep. So I always feel like we always feel like we're zombies. But no, I agree. I think you eat the food diet, you know what it is, and then all of a sudden you just feel like you want to take a nap in the afternoon, and you're feeling sluggish and. Sometimes you blame it on not getting enough sleep because you're working these hours, but in reality, it is a lot of the diet.
It is. And, the other thing, too, is to just be realistic. There are holidays that happen. There are birthdays that happen. Just try not to go crazy. Yeah. Seriously. And, we've talked about this before. So if you're going to go out to eat, watch the alcohol, of course, and start with some water. Fill your stomach up a little faster. And, that can make a big difference. And just be careful. Be more cognizant of what happens. And I tell people all the time, it's okay to have a cheat meal, but don't have a cheat day. Because a cheat day turns into a cheat weekend. And then before you know it, no, seriously, it just does.
Right.
No, this is true. I know.
It's normal human behavior, and it can be addictive, especially when we're stressed.
Yes.
Yeah, especially like on Sundays, I feel like I come from an Italian background, and so I just want to mangia on Sundays. And then I do it all Sunday. But I just have one last question for the doctor, because I hear this discourse about, how much you exercise versus the kind and amount of food you're eating. And so many people are like, you cannot out-train a bad diet. So would you agree with that sentiment?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many negative side effects from a bad diet. There just are. So, yeah.
I get it.
Right. Well, we're going to get into more of this next time as well. But overall, the doctor's got a great list of items up on his blog at drjohnhayesjr.com, drjohnhayesjr.com. Check it out. There's a lot of information there. And then what we'll probably do is either next time, whatever you want to do, we'll do another part on this.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure.
All right. And people, of course, can call or text you, 781-659-7989. Dr. John Hayes is in Marshfield, 781-659-7989. Dr. John Hayes Jr. every week at this time. Thank you,
Rob.
Doctor.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Beth. Take care.
Thanks, Doctor.